Do not watch this video if you are allergic to free-thinking women. Viewers who experience uncontrollable anger, anxiety, or fear from the video's content are advised to stop watching it and to watch something that just reinforces your personal worldview. If you are an individual with tendencies to just go along with political groupthink, whether from the left or right perspective, this video may cause stomach pain, nausea, or vomiting due to challenging your sense of a simple binary world. If you are experiencing a loss of your previous understanding of the world after watching this video, please consult a physician. If you are uncomfortable with a loud, opinionated, uncensored Asian woman, please click on a different video now and change your YouTube search algorithm. Watching this video may cause speechlessness, confusion, or personal identity crisis. If you are experiencing any of these, please immediately stop watching this video and consult a physician.
Hi everyone! This is Cacia Zoo and you're watching Cacia Murmur. In this episode, I want to talk to you about how come women haven't run the world yet. So we already know women have better memory, women are more sensual, and also we have higher pain tolerance, we handle stress better. And since women are able to receive higher education, women generally score 10 to 20% better than men in all the tests. And since Second World War, since women have been stepping into the workforce, women already dominate equally half of the working force in modern day society. So how come women haven't run the world yet? Today I'm going to take you on a journey through history, science, brain study, and power dynamic. So let's begin. So what's the difference between female brain and male brain? Tendency. Female baby are really good at seeing people's facial expressions and understand their emotion. Therefore, female usually have a higher level of empathy. And female baby are usually good at mirroring the adults around them. So if they're in a stressed environment, the female baby will feel very stressed out as well. But if they're in a very high energy, joyful kind of atmosphere, the female baby will be equally joyful. So female baby can usually talk earlier than the male baby because they want to be understood. They want to be ooh. And male baby, on the other hand, male baby are attracted to action. They get excited when things are moving, people are dancing. It's like, yeah, that is the yay to them. So male baby can usually walk earlier than the female baby because they're like, yes, I want to go out and explore. So in that case, female will usually bond with each other through understanding, through conversation. Enhancing that female, we can probably live off social media. But male, on the other hand, they bound by action. They bound by doing things together. Which is why your father, your brother, they love fixing car and play sports outside. They bound by doing things together. And that's a big distinctions and intentions and drive differences. In Chinese, there's a saying say that 男主外，女主内, which say that male dominate the outside world and female dominate the domestic life. And In English, they always say that behind every successful man, there is a woman. It's almost the same meaning. So Western society, we have the same philosophy over this sort of gender role. Now, keep in mind that we are fortunate enough to live in a time where this gender role has been slowly demolishing, and that woman as a 21st century woman, independent and powerful, I think we are able to do both. We're able to dominate our domestic life, and we can also have a career of something that we love and that we feel passionate about. So as men, there are the increasing numbers of stay-home dad. Why not, right? It's all about sharing duty and live harmony together and grow together, right? So we're fortunate enough that all this gender role are slowly demolishing, but there's still a lot of sex bias in the workforce. For example, female CEO. In 1970s, there were only 3 female CEO out of Fortune 500 in the 70s. And in 2017, the number have risen up to 27. That is, wow, that is 50 years. 50 years. And 7 to 27. Okay, the growth rate may be 90%, but keep in mind that that is still less than 1 woman CEO per year. Less than 1 per year. Out of Fortune 500. And I have gone to read the list. There are very few women start their business and empire from scratch. There are many of them are still heiress. That means that they inherit their money and wealth. So I don't want to talk about them. So we're standing at the forefront of change. And I think it's important to also visit the history, because we as women, we as human, we are after all a creature of habit. So if we don't learn from the history will repeat itself, and the change will not happen. So cheers to us. We are changing. We're changing this power dynamic and gender role. And 2017 we have Women's March and Me Too movement. So cheers to that women are starting to talk about all these important issues and things that we all encounter, and we need to help each other and support each other. So let's learn from history. What if I tell you that prehistoric time, all of the major cultures were indeed matriarchal culture? Okay, now let's shift to present times. We all know that throughout human history, we made statues over influential figure, political figure. Any people who have certain power and influence or make a huge impact on our culture, we will make statue over them. So in China, there's the statues of Chairman Mao, and in England, there is statues of Queen Victoria. And in the United States, there would be the statues of Abraham Lincoln or George Washington. In prehistoric time, historian and anthropologists have this debate over what they found. Because prehistoric time, there was no literature. It wasn't invented yet. So there were only statues that were able to, how can this be? And prehistoric time, throughout different continents, there were all these figurines of woman figure, which is big bust. They all have big breasts and big hips and huge baby bump. That would not be exactly the epitome of feminine aesthetic in nowadays society, which is like hourglass and beautiful. But all of this figure of the goddesses from prehistoric time has shown that that was a society that is very respectful towards women. Therefore, they could all be matriarchal, which is the big M, mother. Let's take a look from another perspective, the God's perspective. So for ancient civilization, the cradles of all our civilization right now, Mesopotamia, the two rivers, India, China, Egypt. So Mesopotamia, which evolved to around the Iraq area, which is also the religions of Islamic, and Islamic is one God, and that God is a male God. So that is not the best example here. But let's take a look at three other old ancient civilizations. Egyptian, they worship sun, right? And so the sun would be the male. But the Mother Earth, the water and air, they're all goddesses. So it's safe to say that there were probably a little bit more numbers of goddesses versus God. When we think about Egypt, we think about Cleopatra, right? Cleopatra may be the most famous Egyptian queen, but she was not the first queen. There were queens before her. Arsinoe too is my favorite because she also fought in the battlefield. She was really badass queen. So what makes Cleopatra so famous in the history? Because her relationship with Caesar and 300 prior, Alexander the Great already invaded Egypt. Therefore, Egypt already had some affiliation with the Roman Empire. And Roman Empire being the cradles of European culture, which is the main culture right now that we live under. And therefore, winner writes history. And that is why Cleopatra is one very famous queen of Egypt. But she was not the first, nor the most fierce. Winner writes history. Cleopatra, why she's famous, it's very obvious. And India. When we think about India, the deities, they're all hermaphrodite, which is that they have the both sex different trait. They embody both sex. And they all have like multiple hands, and each hand kind of symbolize a different kind of power and influences. But if you look at their feature, you would say that they're definitely more goddesses than God, right? Goddesses, God. Or closer to the number, whichever way you like to think about it. And in China, the Chinese mythology, the god made man story. It was a goddess who made men. 女娲. She is like the pottery artist goddess. It is said that she tried 80 times to craft a man from soil. It takes her 80 time to finally get the right temperature, that she doesn't undercook or overcook. She get it just right at the 80th time. It was a goddess who made men. 女娲. So 3 out of the 4 ancient civilizations were all polytheism. And also, if you want to think about mythology, let's think about the creatives of European culture, Greek and Rome. Greek mythology also have a more equal distribution between goddess and god, right? So how do we all from polytheism evolve into monotheism? One god, and majority of the god nowadays in major religion, Judaism, Catholic, Christian, Islamic, they're all one god. And this god is usually a male. Actually, they're all male. Right? That is also a sign that, it is because we're in a patriarchal society. And all these men get to pick and choose. And we all arrived at male god. Think about it. And if you look at all the major religion, they're all somewhat sex biased in their doctrine. In Judaism, the male and female pray separately. And as long as Judaism has been around for thousands of years, it was not until 1950s that there was the first female rabbi. And out of all different branches of Judaism, it's not every one branch will be allowing a female rabbi to exist. And Catholic and Christian, if you think about it, there's never been a female pope. There's no female priest. Priest, preach. None. Stay in the monastery, right? So the most powerful figure in Catholic or Christians are usually men. And the women, none, right? Priest, preach, none. Stay in the monastery and behave. Why is that? Think about it. In Islamic culture, they still practice polygamy. But not the equal polygamy versus one man can have multiple wives versus one wife can have multiple husbands. Islamic culture is strictly polygamy with one husband versus multiple wives. And it was not until a couple of decades ago that they finally established a law that restricts a husband can only have 4 wives top. Actually, a lot of those women are still being bought and sold through their family as the kind of property. They don't have right for education. They don't have right for mobility. Every time they step out of the house, they need a chaperone. They cannot rent their apartment until they're married to someone. Those are all signs that females are property of some kind of men. No. Women are not freed. Definitely not in that kind of restraint established by law. Say no more. Say no more. And Buddhism is technically, there's no God kind of religion. Buddhism is more about the practice of Buddhism. It's not about worshiping a god. So now we all know that the ancient civilization, ancient culture, they all used to be matriarchal. And even if they were not matriarchal, it was at least somewhat more gender equal kind of society. So how do we evolve from matriarchal or slightly equal society to patriarchal? Very easy to remember. So let's talk about Stone Age time. Stone Age time, people used to live in the mountain, people used to live in, high ground. Come to nomad time. People have been nomad for as long as there are people. We still are nomad, right? People will move from the countryside to big city in order to get better opportunity, more money, right? So people have been nomad for as long as we live. But back in the day when human first exist, we will migrate because we don't have enough food sources. So we will migrate from season to season. Imagine you move to a warm land in the summertime, and then all the animals are out, so you just hunt them, and then you eat them with your people. And once the land is scarce or the temperature drop lower, we will migrate south to another land where we can start all over again. So people used to be nomad for the source of food, not because of the money. People used to be nomads for the source of food. And somewhere people got smarter. And that's when civilizations start to arise. When we start to settle around riverbanks. Think about it. If you settle around riverbanks, you've got the source of water, and then you can build your houses, and then you can start farming. You don't have to move around all the time anymore, right? Mesopotamia, the word literally means between two rivers. In Egypt, the Nile River. India, Ganga River and Indian River. In China, the Long River and Yellow River. So all the four ancient civilizations all start from the riverbanks. Now, prime realistic. If you got a really nice piece of land that is warm year-round and it doesn't get flooded, and it's like, warm climate, healthy soil, you can build your family house around it, and da-da-da-da-da-da. If you got a prime realistic, wouldn't other people want that piece of land as well? Prime realistic also associate with the most convenience. Therefore, prime realistic would usually cost more. So people start fighting each other over prime realistic. In matriarchal society, woman will be the boss, right? But unfortunately, in a lot of the matriarchal society, women also leave the political power to men. Women are usually the peacemaker. No matter what kind of conflict we will have, we can always communicate to find a way where it's good to you and good to me. But men, on the other hand, men are more aggressive. And men will start wars against each other. It's not to say that female are not violent. Female violence is usually through verbal bitching, right? But that's all. We will bitch at you, but we will not punch you. That is not our instinct. Men, on the other hand, they will start a war. They will want to insert power and control to others. So when people start to settling around riverbanks, that is also the rise of tribal conflict and war. And that is also the rise of hierarchy. Because Mesopotamia and Babylon, that is the area where slavery begins. And in India, there's caste system. Both Egypt and China, they start to insert this kind of godlike power to man. Because the pharaoh in Egypt, it's also associated with God. So it would not only have the highest power, but it also had this God affiliation to it. And in China, we used to call the emperor Tianzi, which is the son of the sky. So at that time, the emperor, it would not be only the most powerful mortal, but it also had this God affiliation to it, enhancing that yes, this is the time matriarchal start to shift into patriarchy with the rise of war and hierarchy and conflict. Another thing is contract, the property concept. Men, hunter and gatherer society, right? Men would go out to hunt, they risk their life, but they will bring back the protein and the fur. Keep in mind, in the earlier human civilization, fur is also a very important ingredient in keeping people alive, warm throughout the cold. So fur and protein, right? Women are usually, the gatherer, right? They pick the fruit, they pick the vegetable, they cook, and they cook for everyone. They take care of everyone, right? So hunter and gatherer society. But if you think about it, meat and vegetable, which one is more expensive? Meat, 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 meat. Meat would always be more expensive, right? So in a matriarchal society, the property, the inheritance will be passed down from mother to daughter. And in patriarchal society, the property and inheritance will be passed down from father to son. Now let's talk about matriarchal. Woman stands for communication and connection, right? So women usually think on the foot of we as a group. So we don't have this idea of this is yours and this is mine. That's your family business, this is my family businesses. Enhancing that, women love gossip, that type of things. So women don't have the distinctions of like property. But when men come into the picture, they do. So in matriarchal society, woman's sexuality is totally liberated. If a woman carries a baby, this baby it was definitely this woman's, right? Because it's literally coming out from a woman. But men, not so sure. A woman would used to have sex with multiple different people and it doesn't matter. Because if I'm pregnant, I will raise it myself with my family. So the father's role is totally dispensable. But when men start to earn more, they start to demand more. They're like, so if you want to pass down your property, your inheritance to your daughter, can I pass down my fur to my son? And you have to make sure that this is my son, right? So, contract. We always say marriage is a contract, right? It is indeed a contract. Since marriage exists, men are able to marry women. And women have to have fidelity, right? Means that since men are able to marry women, if a woman is pregnant, this kid is definitely her husband's. Contract. This is how men get their security of knowing this is their legitimate son. Now let's talk about adultery. In a patriarchal society, adultery for a man is something that they're able to flaunt about. Because only men with wealth and power are able to adulterate, to have mistress on the side. But in a patriarchal society, if a woman commit adultery, she will be facing incredible cruelty from the community and everybody. And in some of the cultures, even life-threatening. You don't even need evidence. If a woman is being accused of adultery, it's almost equal to this woman is committing adultery. Just for a rumor, you can stone a woman to death. While men, it's totally a different story. So yeah, in a patriarchal society, and woman's sexuality, God forbid, the most terrible, frightening idea of women having sexual freedom. That is why we all have more condescending word towards women when a woman is free. When a woman has high sex drive, or a woman is in touch with her sexual freedom, the society would try to slam her, and at times even killed her, even till now. Such a double standard. So now, the rise of war and the concept of property gives rise to patriarchy. War coincides with boys' nature, action, curiosity, conquer, is spending their wealth and expanding their territory. More land, more territory, more money, more property. Alexander the Great, I don't think he conquered Africa or Asia for the purpose of spreading democracy. He conquered them purely out of his desire to dominate the world. Power and greed. Will you say that we still live in a world that is run by power and money instead of openness and liberty? Think about it. So, slowly it shifted from matriarchal to patriarchy. And patriarchy inheritance, which as we all know, in Chinese 5,000 years of history, it was always the emperor passed on the throne to the first son. Also in England, throughout long of a history, it was also from king passing down the crown to one of the son, whichever one. But Henry VIII, it's very important to note him because he was the one broke England away from Roman Catholic Church because he wanted divorce, because he couldn't get a son from Queen Catherine, and so he broke away from that, and then he had some bastard son, but we all know bastard aren't legitimate in succeeding the throne. Maybe it's karma or something, because his only legitimate son, Edward, died when he was 12 or 13 or something like that. That was when Queen Elizabeth took over. And Queen Elizabeth, throughout her life, she never got married. I think she does have a lot of sex, but she never got married, never had kid. I think it's to protect her own title, to not have her power to be stripped away.
I will have one mistress here, and no master!
So from then on, the power dynamics shift, and there were other queens who will also be in reign alone. Sometimes with their husband, sometimes by themselves. There is Queen Victoria, and Elizabeth II is still in reign. So a woman in patriarchal society can only inherit power inheritance, either because of the male descendant is not exist or because they got sick or die early. Now let's talk about the most common way of how a woman gained power in a patriarchal society. Through marriage. My mom always wanted me to marry someone rich. That is a product of patriarchy. An exceptional example. She is not from a royal family. She was married twice to different emperors, a father and a son. She's definitely very beautiful, but she was more than that. Her name is Wu Zetian, and she is the only one empress out of 5,000 years of Chinese history. She is legendary. When she was 14, her beauty was already well renowned around her province. So when she was 14, she was recruited into the palace to be married to the emperors. And emperors would have 3,000 of concubines and wives, right? The Forbidden City and all that. So out of 3,000 wives, how did she stand out? Again, she's more than just beauty. She's also very intelligent. So she first caught Emperor's attention by helping him tame a wild horse. He was very impressed by her. I never know any other woman have this kind of knowledge, right? So he started to take a huge affection towards her. And out of 3,000 concubine wives, obviously everyone's really gorgeous and all that. How does the emperor able to keep this many wives, right? Hierarchy. There's even hierarchy in the concubine world, which is why that when you watch Koreans in Korean show or Japanese show or Chinese ancient show, it will always be about who is able to carry the first son. But if you're not the queen, that would still not be the legitimate son that would succeed the throne. So out of all this different title, there's queens, subwife, and sub-subwife, and sub-sub-sub, blah, blah, blah. And so the sub-subwife, 9 of them would share the emperor for one night. And the subwife, 3 of them would share the emperor for one night. Only the queen are able to have the emperor all to herself for one night. And this emperor takes such a huge affection towards her, he actually gave her additional title, 武媚娘, so that it would raise her position in the concubine world, and also that he can have her all to himself for one night. So the first emperor died, and according to the tradition, for the loss of the emperor, all the wives will have to go into the monastery to become a nun to mourn the loss of the emperor for at least 3 years. And the son of the first emperor succeeding the throne, he might be already had a little crush on her way before he succeeded the throne. So he went into the monastery to pick her up and invite her back to the palace. And that is when she remarried to the son. She married 2 emperors, a father and a son. Yeah, like nobody else would ever do that. Nobody. And this time, the emperor also loved her so much. He loved her so much, he took her everywhere, including in the political discussion table, where she started to observe and learn and acquire her political skill. And at the time, also there was a title to both of them called Two Supremacy, 恶胜, which is that she and the emperor can reign the country together. That secured her position in the political world, because later on when the emperor started to get sick, she took over. She was running the politics all by herself. And of course, there are some people that just don't like a woman in reign, right? And right before the emperor died, he kind of regretted it. He wanted to ostracize her and strip her power away, but it was already too late because she already won everybody's heart. Civilian mostly. Because imagine, she's also from a lower class, right? Therefore, when she got into the palace and had the political power, wouldn't she want to change? Wouldn't she want to advocate for the lower class so that maybe we can have a more peaceful country? Peaceful prosperity, right? So yeah, after the emperor died, she succeeded the throne and became the first empress of Chinese history. First and only and ever. When she reigned, it was one of the most prosperous time in Chinese history. Tang Dynasty, Tang-Chao. And when she reigned, she doubled the fiscal money, she stripped away the hierarchy of the royal blood, and she raised education. So now that everyone will have a more equal opportunity, meaning that if you work hard, if you study hard, you might be able to work for the government, which was obviously the most desirable position at the time. You don't have to be from a royal blood or a very well-renowned monarchy anymore. You can work hard and you can have opportunity. So these two queens has this in similarity. They both stripped away the powers of monarchy and aristocracy, and they enhance education. Another trait when a woman in reign is free love, the idea of free love. Shakespeare came under the picture under Elizabeth's reign, probably because she was trying to enforce law to strip away hierarchy and monarchy. And Shakespeare, one of the things that in his novel that is very innovative, it's about free love. Romeo and Juliet, the love cross class, the love cross hierarchy. So when a woman in reign, you can usually expect openness and free love. And also obviously more culture, more literature, more beauty, more art. Education for everyone. And because women are peacemaker, they both lost some land because they are reluctant to start war. So what if we lost some land, but everyone's healthy and well, not dead? And education for everyone, less hierarchy, more equality. Standing on the foot of we. Women are peacemaker. So women in patriarchal society can only gain power through marriage. And what is before marriage? A woman's beauty, right? In Chinese, there is such a word called the face value. Not meaning that, yeah, if you show up as something. It's literally mean the value of your face. And of course, they usually say that only to women. Enhancing that throughout all different culture, there is such a thing called beauty standard. And all the women will strive to live up to this beauty standard. In Western society, there is corset. Don't get me wrong, I love wearing corset, but every time I'm in it, it's somewhat restrained. I cannot eat too much, I cannot breathe too much, I cannot even laugh too hard. Sometimes it's like the corset is wearing me, actually. And in China, for the last couple of dynasties, there's foot binding. 山寸金莲. They literally say that 3-inch lotus. And it's a kind of way to hypnotize women to knock their foot off, right? And in Middle Eastern culture, there's a shad, so the woman can only show their eyes, because God forbid, if any part of their skin is under the sun or being looked at, is the disgrace. So this is the idea of decency. I want to tell you a little bit about Polynesian culture, because Taiwan is an island. Then the Aboriginal people from Taiwan has a relationship with the Polynesian culture, which I think in my past life I'm definitely a Polynesian warrior or something like that, because Polynesian, they do have like clothing. Polynesian culture, their clothes is never for covering up purpose. Their clothes is more for, okay, if I'm gonna move and run, then maybe it's better if I secure my breasts. Or for men, secure their balls, right? So that they don't swing too much. So their clothes is literally never really for the covering up purpose. It's never for the decency purpose, because there's no such a thing. There's always this joke that when a Westerner's boat float upon the Polynesian island, all the Polynesian women run naked to greet them, to check them out. And the Westerns are like, oh my God, all these women are naked, they're so indecent. And then they switch to another thoughts being like, oh yeah, they're just barbarian. They're just barbarian because they're naked, or because they're just more natural and really don't have this other system that you are from. Jane Austen, who is probably one of the most prominent female writer from the 18th century, whose book centers around all these aristocrat women who are coming from higher society, but their biggest decision in life is who to marry. Maybe they're well educated and you know, they have like a fancier life. They don't have to worry about putting food on the table and all that. But their biggest decision in life is just who they are going to marry to. Psh. What if Elizabeth from Pride and Prejudice, or Eleanor from Sense and Sensibility, or Emma was born in a time like this? What kind of profession they would be in? And if their work can take up most of their brain space, do you think they would be so desperately pandering over who are they going to be married to? They will have option to fall in love, to not fall in love, to go travel, to have interest, to have hobby. She will have whatever her heart desires. Now I want to talk about Coco Chanel. She is such an important figure in being the first female designer who actually designed trousers for women. Women basically started working during World War I, and before then, women were prohibited from wearing trousers. And after around World War I, women started working, and therefore they will wear trousers to work. But if women are working in a more public eye, they will still wear skirts. And after the war, women were reluctant to give up the freedom that their pants has given them. And Coco Chanel was also one of the women that really enjoy wearing pants. Therefore, she started to design pants for women. Yes. So yeah, Coco Chanel is very much of a rebel in that she being the first female trouser designer. And let's talk about Beyonce. Single ladies. If you like it, you're gonna put a ring on it. If you like it, you're gonna put a ring on it. Why can't a single woman just be independent and paying her bill? What does this ring mean? So it's safe to say that I agreed with matriarchal society's value that there's no concept of marriage and a woman's heart is up to her. Whoever she wants to spend the night with, she will spend the night with, and she can take initiative. And throughout the world, there's still some matriarchal society that exist. But unfortunately, they're all dwindling. Because they're not going to survive. One trait that I've seen is that all of this matriarchal society, they're all still functioning under manual agriculture. Not even industrial farming. Manual agriculture. Therefore, a lot of the young girls in this village and in this matriarchal society, they're forced to venture out for better education, better opportunity. And if they are exposed to patriarchal society's value, they will have to adapt. And if they fall in love with somebody that's not within their tribe, they will have to get married. So yeah. And so all of this matriarchal culture have never evolved from agriculture to industrial culture, industrial revolution, while patriarchal society has already gone through industrial revolution to now technology startup. The differences is in education advancement. Rabbi tribe in Costa Rica, their still main industry is coffee, and now has expanded into tourism because they're not able to be, their economy is not able to self-sustain. And in India, the matriarchal culture, they usually give the politics power to men. And in most of China, which is probably the last remaining biggest matriarchal culture that exists, 45,000 population. And in the last decade, they have already also opened up their village for tourism purposes because they're known for this tradition, walking marriage, which is that they don't believe in marriage, but they believe in liking someone. If I like you, I'm gonna ask you out and we're going to go to a little shack, neither your home nor my home, this little shack that only belongs to you and I. And we'll spend a good night together and we'll go our separate way tomorrow. From a patriarchal society, looking at this is very indecent, right? Woman's freedom of liberty in sexuality? So yeah, this has become a tourist spot. So let's come back to nowadays. So as we all are tired of patriarchy culture and that the power and money being the main driving force of our society, where gun, mass shooting, and war is happening all over the place, and women's right is undermined, our choice of having a baby or not is getting taken away from us. Planned Parenthood getting defunded, that is not to be undermined. They already defunded internationally in 2017. In 2018, they're slowly trying to take it away state by state. And although there were Women's March and Me Too movement, we want to say future is female. We really, really need a shift. We need a change. But there are still two main industry where women are minority, and these two industries represent future: politics and technology. In these two main industries, women are still minority. There are only 20% of women computer engineer in Google. And there are only 10% of women developer in Tesla. Female-oriented magazine like Vogue, Marie Claire, and Harper's Bazaar, their topic usually centers around beauty, beauty preservation, how to look 20 when you're 50, or relationship tips like 19 ways to spice up your bedroom life. While male-oriented magazine like FHN, Esquire, GQ, I wouldn't say Wire is a male-oriented magazine, but their dominant reader are male. Male-oriented magazines tend to focus on technology, future advancement, medicines, and new ideas. So if we really want to talk about gender equality, we need to close this gap of our interest difference that was driving by the media. And we also need to teach our younger girl self-worth before they learn the beauty standard. The founder of Girl Who Code, Rashna, who proposed the idea that the confidence gap is based on how we were raised. That girls were raised to be perfect and boys were raised to be brave. And the confidence gap level has to do with, one example. So when it comes to applying jobs, a female will only apply for the jobs where she fits 95% of the job requirement. 95. While male, on the other hand, they will apply for a job even if they only fit 40% of the job requirement. And let's not even include the professional bias that women are not good in technology, women are not good in math, Those are all ideas that needs to be erased, because that is not true. Because we are capable and we are enough. Women, we are enough. So enough. And we need more women in technology, we need more women speaking up, getting involved in politics, because we don't want any more guns, no wars. We want more education, and we want more love, 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 love. The disaster study, which is done by Sebastian Junger, who go in to study in human condition when they're facing disaster. Like the serious loss where the plane crashed on an island and a bunch of people got lost there. They have to survive together. So in this kind of situation, usually a leader will emerge right away, and which would usually be a more masculine figure who is aggressive, bossy, and demanding. Be like, you go prepare the food, you go try to build a nest, or da 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 da. So this person would emerge right away to become the leader. But after a while, the power dynamic would shift to another more feminine figure, who will be standing on the foot of we. She will think about where we could go. She will think about what we need instead of what I need. Let's not forget why women started working in the first place. During the First World War, Second World War, men started war against each other, and they go fight each other and they died, leaving women to become widow, leaving kids to become orphan. And there's a shortage of working force. England literally had to abolish the law that prohibited women from working in order to recruit women to go work in the armory factory to build ammunition and bomb. And even if women already share equal duty and responsibility, women still don't get paid equally, even till today. But that's okay. So long as women been working, women have been founding their self-worth. They're no longer just somebody else's wife or somebody else's girlfriend or mother. Now women have a purpose. And that is when first wave feminists, second wave feminists started. Even till now, we still have to go to the street to march, to protest for equal right and fertility right. It's been history, his story. History has always been about whoever men own the biggest gun, have the most destructive weapon, have the most wealth, and the most power. Hierarchy is a patriarchy's product. Men have started war against each other over religion, over oil, over territory, over anything and everything, even in the name of fucking democracy. Tell me what ideology that hasn't existed that men have not used it and manipulated into propaganda. We don't need another ideology or God or waiting for Prince Charming, the one to save us. We, women, need to stand up now. And going to the street to march to revoke some shitty law that they already made isn't efficient. It's time we also get gender equality into the House, into the Senate, into the Congress, where we cannot no longer cringe our teeth watching 12 men making decisions about how we should behave with our body while they destroy the world. We have to get our sister into the Senate, the Congress, and the White House, where we can truly say no more to patriarchy, hierarchy, imperialism, colonialism, racism, and homophobia. It's time we stand up. I believe if women, we do run the world, there will be only one race, human race. There will be only one kind of people, human being. If there will only be one kind of religion, love. Imagine if we stop spending the most money on building the next nuclear bomb or the next more destructive weapon than the nuclear bomb. Then all of those resources can actually be spent on education, space exploration, and some other future advancement. How about that? That is a future we can all look forward to. But until then, we have to resist. We have to promote female empowerment. We all come from a female. We should raise women up in the society more. And women represent love and connection and nourishing and soft and tenderness. Wouldn't you want that? More love, more openness, more freedom of expression, more art, more beauty, more literature, more amazingness. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can. And I believe if women, we do run the world, love would be the cause, the reason, and the answer. What if I love you and you're my God? And God here, I also don't mean the male God or a female God. I also pray one day we get rid of this separation of God and goddesses, waiter, waitress, actor, actress, because we do not need more category. The more division, the more divided we are. We are the most powerful force on this planet. We united as sisterhood. We united as people. I want you to imagine a perfect world where no conflict, no war, no greed. You won't have to lock your door, lock your window, hold on to your wallet like your life depends on it. Imagine a world where everywhere can be home. Everyone is smiling and friendly, and a stranger is truly a friend that you haven't known yet. How's that for a perfect world? Until then, female empowerment